Fanny, thank you so much for joining and coming to talk to me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited.
We're very excited to have you here.
Especially with this Spanish repertoire.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's entirely dedicated to music from Spain and specifically Andalusia.
Yes, southern Spain.
From southern Spain.
That area was ruled by the Arabs for nearly 800 years.
The Moorish occupation, yes.
Yes.
But 800 years is a lot of culture gets imparted in that kind of time.
Absolutely. And so you can hear the infusion of both cultures in the music. And that to me was the most exciting part about singing this repertoire.
So is this repertoire, is it flamenco? When I think of music from southern Spain, I usually think of flamenco music, the gypsy music of southern Spain and of all over Spain, really. But is this from a different tradition, or is this kind of blending?
It's definitely a blend, and flamenco is one of the types of different genres that will be sung. But there's also malagueña, zapateado, sevillana. So it's all within the region of Andalusia. So that includes Granada, Sevilla, and even some of the Canary Islands too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you first get interested in this music? Do you know people from there? Or did you just travel there or how did you find out about it?
Well, it was very interesting because my cousin was getting married last year and she lives in Spain. So we took a trip there for her wedding, but part of that trip included going to visit Granada. And then we drove up the white sand coast. And
fabulous.
It was fantastic.
Wow.
And the beauty of it was to see how the culture kept changing as the landscape was changing. And so to be immersed in Granada with the flamenco and very gypsy-like music in the streets, and to taste the tea and to go to...
A fair amount of wine, I hope, as well.
Absolutely. But also to taste all the foods that come from the Arabian traditions, and almonds and nuts and wonderful sweets. Pair that up with the music and being there, that just, when my husband said, what about a recital just dedicated to this music? I said, you got it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
So had you studied Spanish music before, or was it just after the wedding that you started getting fascinated and diving into it?
Well, I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, so Spanish music was something that I grew up with. And also it's infused into the culture because we were occupied or discovered, as some people might say, through the, from the 1490, or European settlement from 1492. So our tradition of Spanish as being our main language, and also guitar, and obviously with the indigenous people and also the African slaves that joined, we got the beauty of the percussion. And so all of those cultures blended to give us what we call today merengue and bachata and salsa, and even more contemporary reggaeton.
Right.
But it's all coming from the Spanish tradition of this beautiful music.
This is really going back to some roots. We have, original European and Roman, the Roma traditions, the gypsy flamenco traditions. But then you mentioned the African and Moorish traditions and influences in Spain. Then we have the African influences in the Caribbean, the, kind of filtered through colonialism in the Caribbean.
Exactly.
That's a real rich blend of music.
Absolutely, and also indigenous traditions.
And indigenous, right?
Yeah, which is hard to track because most of our indigenous people don't exist anymore, but...
One was also oral. So much of that was communicated. It wasn't documented in the way that we are used to seeing documentation today.
Absolutely. And so to have the opportunity to dive into that through my natural culture, but also interest and curiosity, I've been singing this repertoire since I've sung, since I was 11. It was my exploration, but more formally since college years, I would say.
Do you have influences? I can think of lots of well, I don't know if lots, but I can think of Celia Cruz and several, other Caribbean and Latina singers. But when I think of flamenco singers, I think of Tomatito mostly, but
Yeah.
and some of the other, but I think of these large, men with lots of, long hair. But
Yeah.
it's a very different tradition. Who are your influences? Who are you inspired by?
I guess because I come from the classical musical style.
No?
Teresa Berganza, which is a Spanish singer,
Okay.
mezzo-soprano as well, has been a great influence to me, and also Montserrat Caballé, and from most more contemporary time, Joyce Donato.
Okay.
But if I were to say, from popular music, I would say Celia Cruz, absolutely.
Right.
And just that moment in Granada when I saw flamenco live
Yeah.
in a cave, that has stayed with me forever. And to see the beauty and elegance of the dance and how it plays with the voice, it was just breathtaking.
What a treat. I know that you've traveled quite a bit, and we talk about the influences of the music. But tell me just a little bit about yourself. You've been studying now, and where you've been singing since you were a little girl, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, my big moment, my big break was when I was given the solo in my first communion. So
Oh, wow.
nobody wanted to do it, so I said,
He
"Can
said,
I
"Oh, I
try
have
it?"
to."
And since
That's
then,
great.
kind of my teachers in the Dominican Republic suggested that I take voice lessons, and my first teacher in the Dominican was a great influence to me. From there, I came to the States and I studied at Ithaca College, and that was a great dream come true because music was always my dream. And to have this opportunity to, after college, be able to pursue music as a career. I'm also an entrepreneur. I freelance as a singer, voice teacher, Alexander technique teacher.
Yes.
So I've been in the States for a while, and I've been really grateful to go to Austria
I was
to
going to ask about
study
that,
in
yeah.
Salzburg.
What brought you to Salzburg?
It was a Miami School of Music
Okay.
program that centered around German leaders. So
Okay.
the program was language and also performance. And I got to perform at, the traditional Brauhaus, which is like where they brew the beer.
Okay, yeah.
But it's beautiful to see how the culture is infused by, people are drinking beer and eating their bratwurst, and you're there singing opera.
Right.
And it's just wonderful.
That's really rich.
Yeah.
I know we're going to have a couple of clips here so people can appreciate what it sounds like. Thank you for coming.
Cualquiera que el tejado tenga de vidrio, cualquiera que el tejado tenga de vidrio, no debe tirar piedras al del vecino. Arrieros hemos, puede que en el camino nos encontremos. Por tu mucha inconstancia yo te comparo. Yo te comparo, por tu mucha inconstancia yo te comparo con peseta que corre de mano en mano. Que al fin se borra y creyendo la falsa, nadie la toma.
right now I am joined by Mark Berger. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad were able to make this work.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trick, but we did it, huh?
That's right, the wonders of technology. So,
Truly.
your music really reminds me of the road and the open spaces. I'm from Colorado myself originally, and I can just picture kind of driving across the Eastern Plains, watching the tumbleweed and the big open sky. It took me away listening to it. So
Awesome, man. Thank you. Where in Colorado are you from?
I got roots in Denver. So have you spent a lot of time out that way, or?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I just got booked to play at the Tabor Opera House in Leadville.
Wow,
today.
that is a classic joint.
Yeah. So, no, I love playing in Colorado. I've been there 3 times in the last year and a half. And
nice.
as you can tell from my record, I kind of like the Rockies and the Desert West for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you done residencies? Do you mostly tour when you're out there? Tell us about the inspiration process. How did this take root? Have you always been playing Western music, or is this a more relatively new passion?
Well, I don't know what Western music even is. I took a trip out west. I grew up in Philadelphia and New York. I took a trip out west on a lark with a crazy friend of mine when I was 21, just before I started law school.
Yeah.
We decided to hit the road, see America, chase girls across the country, and have a summer adventure. Yeah, I'm very unprepared for the effect that trip was going to have on my life. But it really, it just, and like I've said many times, if I had grown up there, I would have never made this album. It's because it was so different to me.
Yeah.
The otherness of it was a big factor in what inspired me. And when I got back to New York, I immediately recognized that my life had changed, because all I wanted to do was get back out there. And so the next 5 summers, I drove across the United States alone to some destination in the American West during my 20s. Oh. And that was before there were cell phones. So those drives were just really unique, and you couldn't have those experiences today anymore.
You have to get off the interstate, I think. I find when I do that, you have to get off of 70 or 80, however you're going across, and take the smaller roads.
Well, you have to stay on the interstate till you get to Chicago, because the population is just too thick. Yeah. But after you get to Chicago, then you can shoot up and get onto the 2-lane blacktop roads that the interstates replaced, like Route 2 that goes from Duluth, Minnesota to Glacier National Park. And that's when the ride would get interesting. You're 100% right. It's all about getting to where the environment comes up to the car and slowing down to 30 when you hit the little towns that get further and further apart as you head west.
Yeah. Do you? I assume with all your traveling in there, you must have met quite a few characters, and the landscape is gorgeous. It's a different culture too, and I think that's infused in the music and in the way things are expressed. Do you think that's true?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah.
But you can find some characters in New York City too.
Are you working on anything new right now?
Oh, I'm in the throes of it. Yeah, I'm like, just to digress for a second, it took a long time to make Ride, because I wasn't a studio engineer. I could write the song, I could arrange the song, but I didn't know how to turn the knobs to create cinematic recordings, and I didn't know how to explain it to an engineer to have him help me do it. Mm-hmm. So it took a lot of years with me and my co-producer, trial and error, learning how to use equipment in the recording studio to create the effect of Ride. And it came out, and we had no idea if anybody would like it. It would just be like, wow, what did we just spend 10 years doing, And it was very well received, and it's been a pleasure. The effect it's had on my life, that release of that album. But I constantly am being, I get the comment, well, everybody likes Ride, so obviously now you got to make Son of Ride. But the truth of the matter is, I don't really have anything more to say on that subject, and consequently, if I try to make Son of Ride, it would not be as good as Ride. But one of the things I found really enjoyable about making that album was that instead of creating an album and just going, well, here are 10 of my songs, the idea of having an overarching concept that linked all the songs and took you on kind of a journey as you listened to the record was very artistically challenging and fulfilling. And so while I don't want to make Son of Ride, I do have a concept that's interested me for a very long time that's become the basis of this new album I'm working on, which has to do with the question, what do these 2 words mean? Folk music. And so this is going to be a genre-bending look at what is folk music, or my own spin on it. that is pretty guaranteed to piss everybody off.
As the best folk music always has.
For me, the idea of what is folk music really is very much tied up with the idea of what it means to be an American artist.
Mm-hmm.
And the definition of an American artist for me is traceable back to the prose prologue of the first edition of Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, where he talks about, in prose, he talks about who and what the American poet is. He's referring to the American poet, but it doesn't matter. And he talks about basically for the first time what an American artist looks like, as opposed to somebody who is following a European model because it was a new country, you know. And he says things like, it is the attitude of the greatest poet to horrify despots and cheer up slaves. And for me, that's where I'm coming from, and that's the essence of what is a lot more that he says in that prose prologue. And reading it from where we're sitting in 2018 is really an eye-opening experience. It's a breathtaking thing to read. It's prose, and it appears before the very first word of the very first poem in the first edition of Leaves of Grass. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it doesn't matter if it's a guy with an acoustic guitar or somebody shredding your forehead, you know, with a Marshall. It really is more about the nature of the communication and what it's saying, and rather than the medium. And so this would be a very eclectic record. And some of the songs will have horn sections, and some of them will sound as crazy as anything the Doors ever did. And then there'll be a folk song that Richie Havens performed in his live concerts for 25 years. And so it's a very wide-ranging look at what could qualify as folk music. For me, it's definitely not, I'm so sensitive, I love my guitar. One of the challenges, because I play in so many different configurations from solo to, you know, a 7-piece band, is how to distill that album down to even a solo performance, which I've kind of figured out how to do. And in some ways, it's very interesting because it's very intimate doing it that way.
We could spend the next hour easily talking about music and influences and different paths to follow. And I'd love to hear more about that path from Duluth to Glacier. That's some of my favorite corners of the world. That sounds just wonderful.
Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Went down Chestertown and they just said goodbye. Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Once proud and shiny, now she's dusty and dry. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soulful whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jump the rails and roared away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul along the line. Nobody rides on a train that made this great land of mine. Nobody gonna dance to the music. Don't call the Union Hall, it's boarded up tight. Nobody gonna dance to the music. Nobody gonna dance to the music tonight. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soulful whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jump the rails and roared away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul along the line. Nobody rides on a train that made this great land of mine. Hold on, oh, dear old dad of mine worked his fingers down to the bone. Hold on now, mama, don't you cry. I'll take you with me if I knew where to go. bone. Hold on now, mama, don't you cry. Take you with me, ma, if I knew where to go. But he gonna walk on the water. Just sold my Bibles for a good piece of bread. Nobody gonna walk on the water. Big train stowed away and left us for dead. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soulful whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jumped the rails and roared away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul along the line. Nobody rides on a train that made this great land of mine. Nobody rides. Nobody rides. Nobody rides. Ain't no more. Nobody rides on the train that made this great land of mine. Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Went down to Chestertown and they just said goodbye. Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Once proud and shining, now she's dusty and dry. Don't look back, boys, make a lot of noise. Tommy, we ain't got far to go. There's a great big heavenly rainbow on the horizon. Fire your guns, run them hoofbeats into this cold and muddy ground. There'll be women, wine, and better time when we roll into town, 'cause it's been weird. It's been strange. Been long, riding hard together through the driving rain. Hear the band playing their best. We came a long way from Vicksburg. We ain't gone back again. Well, the cold gets into your bones, brother, the road works over your life. And we done some things left better off unremembered. What you think of the years, the tears, and the blood spent fighting to keep this dream alive? And you bite your lip, well, he cracked that whip. Let's